Hello and welcome to the updated National Plant Monitoring Scheme YouTube help videos. We've updated these due to changes in the website, which have hopefully made the website easier to use. So I'm just going to go over some of the main functions of the website um, according to the title of the video. So this one's just showing you how to access the information on which squares might be available near to you. I'll first go over that when one is not logged into the website, but then also overview how you would actually request a square if you had an account and were able to log in. So this is just obviously the National Plant Monitoring Scheme website. We have the Squares Near Me option here on the top row, and not being logged in at the moment, I'm just going to show you first of all how to use that facility. So if I click on the Squares Near Me option on the menu bar at the top, wait for the page to load. So the interface here has not changed drastically from the previous interface that was available. The two main functions are here to return all of the squares in the NPMS database, and also to just get squares within a certain distance of a certain postcode. So obviously if I click return all squares, all of the squares from the database will be returned and displayed on the map here. The Google Map functions as you might expect it to if you've used such maps online. You can use the scroll bar to the left of the map here to zoom in and out. You can drag the map by clicking the double-headed arrow icon at the top of the map here on the top right hand corner. So if I choose this double-headed arrow icon there, and then that will allow me to move the map around. So if I just go back up here and choose to return all squares, the second button here. If I click that, I'll have to wait a moment for the squares to be loaded, but if I scroll back down to the map, you'll now see that all of the NPMS squares currently available in the database are displayed on the map, the orange ones being ones which are currently allocated, the blue ones being ones which are still available. You should of course continue to check back to see if there are new squares, because all the time new squares may be becoming available in an area, or we may be loading new squares to the database. So now that we've got the squares on here, if you remember, I can go to the top right hand corner of this map and click the double-headed arrow, allowing me to drag it around. But first of all, I'll probably want to zoom in using the zoom bar on the left hand side here. So I'll just zoom into where the map is already centered. But if I did want to shift the map at this point, I would ensure that the double-headed arrow in the top right hand corner is still selected, and then obviously drag the map like so. I will now zoom in to this area here using the zoom bar on the left of the map again. Again, if you zoom in and you lose the square off to the side, you can recenter the map by holding your left mouse button and dragging until it's where you want it. When you are zoomed in to a certain extent, then you're able to extract information about the square. To do this, you need to go to the icon at the top right hand corner of the map and choose the question mark icon. This allows you to interrogate information about the square by clicking on it. So if I now click on this unallocated square, you'll see this message has popped up at the top of the screen here, and it tells me the geographic reference according to the Ordnance Survey UK grid at the 1 kilometre scale, so it gives me that grid reference there. And it's also telling me that if I did want to assign this square or request this square to myself, then I would need to create an NPMS account to do that. And I will go through the login process in a moment to show you how you would actually go through the process of signing in and logging in. So I'll just OK that for the moment. It won't do anything, it'll just get rid of the message. If I wanted to get the geographic reference of a square which was allocated, again, it's the same process. I just make sure the question mark bubble icon is selected in the top right hand corner of the map, and then click on the square. In this case, you'll see that it gives us the geographic reference again on this message up here, but it tells us that the square has already been allocated to someone, and then it helpfully reminds us that, again, sign up and log in to allocate a blue square, in other words, an unallocated one, to yourself using the map. So I can OK that again there. as with all of the Google Maps in the MPMS website, in the top right hand corner there is also this tab option here, this blue tab with the white cross. If I click that, it expands this little menu and just allows me to switch between the different standard Google backdrops, so the satellite imagery, the hybrid where you've got information, locational information superimposed on the satellite imagery, and the base layer which we started with. So the only other option to note here is that if you were, I'll just zoom out quickly to the extent of the UK, just to make it easier to see what happens in the next step. So the other option is to simply enter your postcode. So if I enter the postcode of my current location, and then I can enter a distance up to 30 miles, it notes here, and that will, if I then click the Get Squares option, it will only return those squares which are within that distance of the postcode there. And that reloads the page, so it removes the complete geographic overview of the UK and just reloads the selection within 30 miles of that postcode. And you can see if I zoom out here, you'll see that we've just got a scatter of the available squares, although most of them are allocated in this area, but of course that might change in the future, because when the squares in a 100-kilometre region are 75% allocated, we release new squares to the database, so it may be in the future that new squares will be available. And if you've expressed interest in the scheme to the MPMS coordinator of Plant Life, Hayley, then you will be able to email her to sign up to alerts, and she will tell you when new squares are being released. So that is the overview option when you're not logged in, but now if I log into the website, you'll see a similar process whereby you can actually request a square. So I did that rather quickly. Let me log out again. So all I did then, this is assuming that you've already got a login to the website. If you haven't, you obviously select the sign up option here on the menu bar, and by filling in the information here, you will be sent login information to your email address. So assuming that you've done that and you've set up a password, then of course when you want to use the website with your username, you will log in. Here the username and my password have been remembered automatically by my web browser, so that's fine. I can just click login, and then obviously a few more menu options are available now because I'm logged in to my account. But for the moment we'll just be focusing on requesting a square. So when we weren't logged in, the menu option was called Squares Near Me, but now it's called Request a Square because this is the process of requesting a square, although it looks very similar to that which we saw before. So if I click on this link now, Request a Square, load the page, you'll see it's essentially the same as before, but we've lost the ability to enter a postcode here, and that's because the postcode is a required element of your account. So it now uses the postcode from your home address that you registered with. If you wanted to search for squares near another postcode, for instance, if you wanted to get a square near where you regularly go on holiday, then it would be best to log out and use the Squares Near Me option that I previously introduced to get the geographic reference of that square or find it on the map. So the two options here are essentially enter a distance here, which will then use the postcode that you registered with to restrict the squares available on the map. So I've just put in 30 miles again, which is the maximum. And again, because I live near where I work, it's a similar area that's been displayed there. And of course, I've also got the return all squares option, which will give me the complete set of squares available in the UK. This takes a little bit longer to load when you're logged in. It may just be that my internet connection is very busy at the moment. So that's loaded now. So I'm going to assume that I regularly go on holiday in the Hebrides, and I might zoom in here, for instance, to Isla. Nice holiday destination near a distillery. Perhaps this square would be nice, and that's unallocated, it's blue. So now, remember that I use these two icons at the top right here to move the maps. Currently it's got the double-headed arrow selected, so I can hold down my left mouse button and move the map around. But if I wanted to allocate the blue square to myself, remember I would need to select this question mark option at the top here. So make sure that's selected. At the moment I'm zoomed out too far, so if I click on this unallocated blue square, nothing... Oh no, okay, I'm not... I take it back, I'm not zoomed out too far. That's perfectly fine. I've clicked on it, it's come up and it said, would you like to assign the square to yourself? And if I clicked OK, then that would be processed on the website. I would get a new message come up which would tell me that that request had been sent to the NPMS coordinator, and then I would essentially wait for a confirmation email when the NPMS coordinator has approved that allocation, and the square would then be available to me to record, create plots and record data against, which I dealt with in the other videos. So that is essentially the process of looking for squares and requesting squares on the NPMS website. It's considerably simpler than it was last year, and we hope that the interfaces and the menu options that we've labelled and provided people with are clearer too. Don't forget that if you go to the resources section of the NPMS website, there is also the online data entry and website guidance, which goes through the same process in a PDF, which will either appear in your web browser or perhaps be downloaded to your downloads folder, depending on how your web browser is set up. Okay, thank you.